Meeting is
All right. Good evening and welcome to the call. I'm going to talk a little bit this evening about the phrase, how do I get to? Um, insert XYZ question after that in regards to children, right? Um, Particularly in GPU, I see, people come looking for parenting support, and a lot of the posts are phrased in the form of a question. How do I get my kid to, for example, how do I get my kid to get into the car seat? Or how do I get my child to understand consent? And, so on and so forth. So I feel like this is a really nuanced question because it's like, yes, we are teaching our children how to XYZ, insert whatever, the question is, because this applies across the board to a lot of different topics. Anytime we want to get somebody to do something, um, well, I mean, it's not exactly that straightforward, right? And particularly with children. And let me tell you why. Because children are developing, children's brains are growing, and children are learning about the world around them. But this is really a topic where the answer is that as long as we're engaging with the thing, working through the thing, troubleshooting, problem solving, supporting, offering empathy and compassion, helping, collaborating, all of these other, like, you know, I get so caught up in wording because I was going to say relational tools. And I actually have really been deconstructing that lately because relational tools also kind of imply that they're being used as like almost like a manipulation. I don't know. Something about it doesn't sit quite right with me. And I like to use language that's succinct and gets my point across really well. And um doesn't have a lot of like misinterpretations around it, I guess. So sometimes that just doesn't lead to succinct language. um but healthy relational patterns feels a lot more comfortable to me. And so, when we're doing all of these things, we are modeling and teaching, showing, guiding around all of these healthy relational tools. So, here's the thing though, is that when we're trying to get from A to C, um, we can't skip the letters in between. Um, and that's where the brain development and like who your child is and all of that stuff comes into play because while we're modeling and teaching and helping and being compassionate and guiding and all of these other things, that does not necessarily mean that our child is currently able to do the thing that we would like of them. We would really like for a small child to stop hitting. And we can teach the child. And of course, if anybody's hitting anybody, finding ways to like keep bodies safe is primary in the topic. And then beyond that, we compassionately teach other relational patterns, the way that people who have learned the skills to not hit people when they're upset are teaching that through modeling. They're teaching that through all of the different ways that they go about getting their needs met that are hopefully healthier ways to get your needs met, right? Which is a big part of the reason that we find ourselves having all of these conversations, is because we ourselves weren't taught a whole lot of healthy ways to interact and communicate. And so, um, as a result, we find ourselves engaging in a lot of less than healthy relational patterns. Most of us probably don't hit anymore. I'm going to assume, since we're gentle parents and all of that. Um, or at least, we're attempting to do our best to work on ourselves so that we're not doing that. And yet there's a lot of different ways that we still might need to unpack in order to be interacting with not only our children, but everybody around us in really healthy ways. So, you know, I don't want to be disheartening and just be like, well, you can't, you're just not teaching your child, or they're not going to get it right now. That's not necessarily true. Sometimes people, they learn things really fast, or not only learn them, but also gain the skills to implement them, because those aren't exactly the same thing. Um, but most learning happens over time. And on top of that learning, there's the skills to implement. And a lot of that simply comes with development. And so when we're trying to work through something that we're going through right now, be that bedtime or getting in the car seat, or, whatever it is that we're trying to collaborate around, the really important thing is that we don't engage in a power struggle. And power struggles are so easy to fall into. They start to play out by script. Like, um, you know, if your kid always is pushing back around something like brushing their teeth, and toothbrushing time comes up and you're thinking in your head, you're already like, oh gosh, they're going to push back. And your nervous system's already reacting to them pushing back. And the same thing is happening inside your kid the moment that you walk into that room and you go, hey, it's time to brush your teeth. And next thing you know, your kid is looking at you with these big old eyes, and their nervous system has triggered into the beginning of a power struggle, because we've kind of set it up around this thing because we really feel like the thing needs to get done. And which, you know, clearly brushing our teeth is really important, and certainly getting it done is probably going to be the best thing to do. There could be like a lot of great ways to get your teeth cleaned that may not include toothbrushing tonight. Um, However, the long-term goal is definitely like a healthy relationship with our teeth, right? So, and that's like the development piece, right? Like we're laying down the groundwork for healthy foundations and for people to feel like they have healthy relationships with their bodies, with their internal who they are, and healthy relationships with the world around them, and all of those things, right? That's a huge piece of what parents pretty much universally are really working towards and hoping for, is that our children are going to be okay in this world. And a lot of being okay, I mean, the biggest part, like huge, is just being healthy in the world around us, and our relationships and the ways that we interact with the world and all of those other things. And um so um as far as like the power struggles, they're really easy to set up. They just kind of happen if we're not being conscious around them. And that thing that I was just describing about how your nervous system goes into like ready to fight, and your kid's nervous system goes into ready to fight. So the thing we can do around those power struggles is to throw away the script. Whatever you did before, however you were like reacting and responding before, the things that you say, like the whole thing, because it literally does. Like you'll say XYZ, and then your kid comes back with the same thing that they said the night before. And your brain is running on autopilot going, okay, I know what's going to happen. And you're not even consciously thinking about it. You're just feeling agitated going into something that might be a little bit of a struggle. And so, um, and your kid is going through exactly a similar type of a thing. As soon as you come in, they're going, okay, this is going down. So if we throw away that script, just crumble it up and toss it in the garbage, and do something completely different. And also, a big piece of things, like whenever possible, I know around some things like getting in the car seat or something like that, there's not as much room for collaboration if you're picking somebody up from a busy school and you're sitting in a like car line and you're overwhelmed and there's a lot going on, and like there's not as much room and space for collaboration right there. And if it turns into a power struggle, it's also not going to get done any faster. And so sometimes taking pressure off of ourselves where we
Hi,
can.
Mom.
Hey, baby.
Yeah.
Taking pressure off of ourselves where we can. For example, you're trying to pick your kid up at school, and you know that there's an ongoing power struggle around getting your kiddo into the car seat. Um, Want to wait till I'm done recording?
This is not fully sipped up.
Yeah. You want to wait till I'm done recording, pretty please?
Can I just sip this up?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Thank you. So, do yourself a favor when you're picking up your kiddo, instead of adding the extra stress of being like in a car line where there's a lot of other parents picking up and dropping off. If you can just pull into a parking spot where things are a little bit safer, and maybe you can sit and get some snuggles, maybe connect, maybe let them jump on the back seat for a minute or two. Just find a way to collaborate with them and remove some of the pressure from yourself so that you're not feeling a lot of other pressures. Like in that case, if you were struggling to get a kid into the car in a car line, you're going to feel outside pressure as well as the pressure from as well as the pressure from trying to just manage the thing that you're already managing, like trying to get your kiddo into the car seat. Um, so yeah, if there's ways like maybe pulling into a parking spot or something like that, and like, finding a way to do a little dance, make some jokes, get some snuggles, maybe do like, a 5 minute little like make some kind of a little routine where you can be like, ooh, 5 minute little recap of your day. Tell me everything that was great and everything that made you sad, and, you know, uh, connect with them in a good way. And then possibly that transition to the car seat will be a little bit easier. And it throws away the script for the power struggle because, if we have some less pressure way that we can do this, then it can be a connective time and it can be something that draws us together. And suddenly it's a lot less about getting that kid into the car seat as it is just about being together. And the togetherness often has a result of collaboration. And even when just the connectedness and togetherness doesn't have the result of collaboration, it opens the opportunity for us to look in and see what the problem is here. What are the underlying needs? Is that car seat uncomfortable? Have they just been pent up like all day long in a classroom and need to get some energy out? Did they really miss you and would like connection right now? And it gives us an opportunity to look at that so that we can support our kids. And I know that society talks a lot about how supporting our kids, like it's more about controlling our kids, and like supporting our kids often kind of gets a bad rap, like we're coddling them or not teaching them life skills. But when we're supporting our kids and helping them to understand their own needs, they understand their bodies and their nervous systems. And those are life skills that they're going to carry with them throughout life. So whether the question is about consent or bedtime or toothbrushing or getting in the car seat or hitting, how do I get my kid to XYZ? Um, the answer is you just keep living your life in accordance with your values, modeling the different ways that we take joy from these things, the different ways that they're part of a healthy lifestyle, all the different the our motives for who we are, because that's like our values, right? And if we're living by our values, then the things that are important to us, which is a whole nother topic and I don't want to take up too much more time, but um it makes it easier to navigate through the stuff when we recognize what's more important to us and what's less important to us. And like we choose our battles and take away less and less and less of them so that we can be more comfortable a little bit more in the world. So really the big thing here is like just keep gently parenting, stay on that track. Don't think because your child isn't able to implement the thing right now that like maybe you should try something else, or it's time to be more harsh, or your child isn't responding to this. That's not how development works. These are life skills. They're habits, like healthy habits, and they're things that we learn along the way. And learning something, as I mentioned in the beginning, learning something does not mean that we can apply it. And even if we've got the skills to apply things sometimes, it doesn't mean that we can apply those skills in every situation, like, um, for example, maybe every once in a while, a kiddo could climb into the car seat completely unassisted, totally excited about it, and just be ready to strap in there. And all you got to do is check those straps and make sure it's all nice and tight. Um, but just because they had the skills to do that one time doesn't mean that they're still going to be able to apply those skills in another situation if they're, say, more emotionally compromised or tired or hungry or frustrated. There's, a lot of different scenarios in which even people who are very experienced and skilled at certain jobs and certain things really struggle with. And so holding space to remember that, like, the things that we're asking of our kids when we're trying to get them to XYZ, they're part of a set of life skills that we are teaching through our interactions and the ways that we show up in the world and the ways that we talk about it with them and communicate and collaborate and all of those other things. And patience is key. So at the end of the day, just like keep doing what you're doing and allow time and space for those developmental leaps to happen. And eventually that problem will be one of the past and we'll have a whole new one that we'll be sorting out. So anyways, I did talk for quite a long time here and I don't want to take up too much more time on the call. So I'm going to go ahead and shut off the transcript and then the recording if I can. Okay, that went to hide captions. So if that worked, I should turn off the recording too. All right, I'm gonna get the call started.